Good morning. Wow, that little wheel went round and round and round on the screen really slowly then. It's having a morning like I'm having. Good morning, everyone. If you are watching, do pop a hello in the comments. Good morning and welcome to whatever it is. I don't know, Friday, that'll do. The internet's showing as unstable. Ooh, it's par for the course today, I think.
Picture's not good.
Picture's not good either. It's saying my internet's unstable.
Okay.
Try plugging into your router. Internet, I already am plugged into the router.
Maybe it drinks.
Maybe it drinks. Let's hope it stabilizes. I apologize if the picture's all wibbly wobbly. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey picture. I am a little fuzzy here. That's not the picture, that's just me. Hopefully it will sort itself out. The internet's arsing about, basically. Let me get that up and see if so I can keep an eye on it. There we are. Getting there. Hello, Heather. Hello, Maria. Good morning, Amanda. Good morning, Hannah. Good morning, Janet. Good morning, Caroline. Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Eva. Finally at home this time. Hooray. Good morning, Colin. Good morning, Kerry. Maria, it's fine here. We're plugged into just rubbish. Yeah, I know. Do you know, that's how I feel this morning. It's not been a lot of sleep. Not been a lot of sleep for Eric and I. Eric was a poorly doggy in the night, so I had been up for quite a few hours dealing with poorly doggies. Good evening, Sephora. Good morning, Tess. Have missed the last few Fridays due to work. Boo. Well, that's just boring. Good morning, Emma. Good morning, Kerry. Good morning, Claire. Good morning, Diane. Lots of lovely people. Welcome. Good morning, Sue. Yeah, poor Eric, bless him. There's a story, as there always is. So my husband's in a rock band. Hooray. They did a gig in Swanage in Dorset last week. Last week. Swanage is basically a 150-mile round trip. But they did a gig, and they gig there regularly. 25 years now, been gigging there, something like that. And it's a lovely little pub, and Swanage is a lovely little seaside town. But they left something behind. They forgot their toolbox when they packed up after the gig. And they need the toolbox before the next gig. So Pete and I decided we'd make a day of it and drive down to Swanage. So we did 150-mile-an-hour round trip yesterday to collect a toolbox and a dog walk, basically. We had a nice lunch.
Oh, we did.
We did a very nice lunch. Love Cake Cafe in Swanage. Excellent. And dog friendly. But Eric had 2 sausages, and I think it was a bit too much for his poor little tummy. So at 3 o'clock this morning, Eric and I were out in the garden. So yeah, I think 2 sausages, probably a bit of an overload for the little sausage dog, bless him. But there you go. Yeah. One of those things. If it's not kids, it's dogs. Good morning, Susie. Good morning, Sue, from a very windy Sunderland. Yes, it's windy here too. Cold, dreary, and ick. Good morning, Deb. Oh, 4 a.m. here. Ooh. Yeah, you'd need coffee. Definitely need coffee. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Trudy. Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, Christine. Day trips are wonderful. Yeah, it was nice. We had a nice lunch. We had a walk along the beach as well. So yes, Sephora eyes too big for stomach hound. Definitely, yes. But he's fast asleep now. He's under that blanket there. Good morning, everyone. Basically, thank you. Good morning from Chrissy and Desi. Good morning, everyone. I hope I haven't missed anyone off there. Colin, it's Remembrance Day. It is indeed, Colin. Kitchen Witch, the school, the Coven makes a monthly donation to charity. Usually it's the Dachshund Rescue charity, the Red Foundation. But in November, I always make the donation to the Royal British Legion. So we have made a very nice donation to them this month in honour of Remembrance Day. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, was on the D-Day landings. Pete's dad was navigator on the Lancaster bombers. So very, very proud of our military heritage in this family, and definitely something that should not be forgotten. We honour them all, not just the service men and women, but the service animals too. So remembrance indeed. 11 o'clock today, 2 minute silence for those that are round and about. Charlie, too much sausage for the sausage dog. Yes, definitely. Bless him. But we had a nice lunch. We had a very nice lunch and a sharing cake platter.
Oh.
That was very, very nice. So there you go. We went to the seaside, which is funny because we live by the seaside. But there you go. That's the way it goes, isn't it? So what have we got today? We have got, let's do the stuff first. So anyone in and around London on the 4th of December, is that right?
Looks up.
4th of December. I'll be at the College of Psychic Studies. Myself and Ness will be there doing a workshop for amulets and talismans. Do go and have a look.
11 till 5.
Yeah, 11 till 5, whole day jobby. We will be there creating, making magic and all sorts of things. We're also doing a local workshop on the 11th of December in
11 till
Emsworth, 11 till 3.
2 spaces left.
Yeah, 2 spaces left. They have sold like the proverbial hot rat on a stick. So
What?
if
That's not an expression.
If you read Discworld, you would know what I'm talking about.
Okay, I'll let you off.
Don't judge until you read
Hot
Discworld.
rat on a stick.
Hot rat on a stick. Cut my own throat dibbler.
Uh-huh.
We literally only have 2 spaces left on that workshop. So head on over to the Kitchen Witch website if you want to book your tickets for that. That's it. That's all the announcements, isn't it? We will be at Witchfest Feltham in 19th of November, something like that. Yeah, so links are up in the comments as well. So, you know, if you want to join us, do be fun. Be fun. Let's get some of these done. Oh, Emma. Our great uncle Leonard V. Payne, served in the army during the Second World War and passed away in his 20s. Very proud of him, and he watches over my mum. Always we feel it. Absolutely right to be proud of him. Those in both wars did so that we could have the life that we have today. So Sephora says, after you do your talk, can we have a Friday amulet and talisman chat? I'm sure we can fit that in. Jane says, sell down, Mr. P. I look forward to seeing you there, Celia. Christy. Airedale dogs were used during World War II as they were brave to run over battle sites. Bless them. Horses. My granddad World War I and my mum and dad World War II. Did my bit just before the Argentine War, but I was in Hong Kong. Army wife for 11 years. I was garrison postie house. Did my bit. Excellent. Yeah, my maternal grandmother was in the NAFI. She did a bit too. My maternal great uncle, he was in the RAF. So yeah,
it's something to be forgotten, is it?
Never
offended.
Never to be forgotten. Those people fought and died so that we could live how we live today. Definitely something never to be forgotten. Good morning, Lizzie. Colin served in the Royal Scots Military Band for 5 years. Good man. Airedales are lovely dogs. All dogs are lovely. The cafe we went to yesterday in Swanage was truly dog friendly. We've been in a few garden centres that have said dog friendly on the door, and actually you're kind of segregated in a shed somewhere. And but this cafe, Love Cakes in Swanage yesterday, was truly dog friendly. They even served Eric with his bowl of water to the table. You had waitress service, didn't you? That's cool. Emma says, Uncle Paul thinks your skull behind you is smiling at us. Yeah, he looks like he is, and that's still my ancestors. He is smiling, isn't he? That's still my ancestors' altar. The skull represents my ancestors. Zephora, great Uncle Les served in both World War I and World War II. He did Meals on Wheels well into his 90s. He was made of grit. Bless him. Bless him. Jane, I think my maternal grandfather met his end and new beginning in World War II. Need for him to come through on the spirit board again to find out. Can't wait. Excellent. Excellent. Hi to Diva. Yeah, it's all important stuff to be remembered. Definitely all important stuff to be remembered. So the subject for today, being as we spent yesterday at the seaside and being as we live by the seaside, it was interesting. We walked along the beach, and it's a very sandy beach at Swanage, which we don't have here in Southsea. And Pete said to me, is it as good as your ocean? We go down to Southsea, which is about a 5-minute drive from us here in Portsmouth. Don't tend to go in the middle of summer if we can help it, because it's always too busy. But we go quite often with the dog. We like to walk along the front. We have a castle to walk by, and there's greenery and all sorts of stuff. And I love it. It is my place to go to relax, to release, to let go, to recharge. But the interesting thing, when we went to Cornwall earlier this year, we went to lots of beaches. We stayed in Boscastle, we went to Tintagel, all loads of different places we went to. And I didn't connect with the ocean at all. There was one beach in particular, Black Rock Beach, yeah. I think it was called. That was beautiful. But I didn't make the connection with the ocean that I do when we're at a local ocean. So yesterday when we were at Swanage, that was Pete's question to me. Is it as good as your ocean?
I like the way you say local ocean. It makes it sound like it's ours.
Yeah, like I own
our
an
own
ocean.
Private ocean.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah. And I didn't. It was beautiful. Nice sandy beach, lots of waves. The sound of the waves crashing, particularly there's a part of Swanage Beach where you walk around. There's a little pub cafe thing on the end, and there's a big wall, and the waves crash on the wall as you can sit outside and have your coffee and listen to the waves, and the sound was amazing. Did I feel connected to the ocean? Nope. So I have my own ocean. To have a connection to my own ocean. So my question is, do any of you work with ocean magic? Do any of you work with sea magic? Do you feel a particular connection to one place where the ocean is, or water of any kind, really, I guess? Water in all its forms is about emotions, releasing, cleansing, purifying, all of that stuff. So do you feel a particular connection? And I wonder what it is. Spirit place, obviously, but I wonder if there's something else that gives you that certain connection to one particular place. So share your thoughts, share your questions. How do you work with sea magic? If you do, you can collect ocean water. It can be used just as you would moon water. Shells, obviously, pebbles from the beach, sand, all have magical properties. So if you work with it, how do you work with it? Put those thoughts out there. Put those thoughts out there. Get some of these up. Lizzie, my father wanted to join the Air Force, but he was considered to be working in an essential. Everyone had their place. Everyone had their place. Lizzie, my mother was a draftsperson and created many of the blueprints used during the war. Excellent. Dad was in the Home Guard. That just Dad's army now, isn't it? In your head. No, found the rations book when I was having a clear out a while ago. Excellent. Hannah, love the ocean. The wider the better, unless I'm in a boat. I think that we underestimate the power of the ocean. it is so huge and so deep. There is a huge percentage of it that's never actually been mapped because it's so deep. Mysteries abound there, really. But I do think that we underestimate the power of it quite often. Louise, Cornwall is my spiritual home. We go to Dorset once or twice a year. It's lovely, but don't get the connection. I cry in Cornwall with the depth of feeling. I think that's what surprised me about my visit to Cornwall this year. I've always loved Cornwall. We've been to Newquay on numerous occasions, been to Tintagel on numerous occasions. Love Tintagel, the energy there, fantastic. Been through Boscastle before, never stayed there until this year. And I always used to get the feeling of the Cailleach. As soon as we hit Cornwall, I got the feeling that the Cailleach was there with all the rocks and the landscape. I didn't get it this time, and it was actually quite disappointing and quite strange that I didn't feel it this time. So I don't know why. Interesting. Sephora, married to a surfer, so the ocean has been a huge part of our lives, obviously. First lesson I learned was never turn your back on the sea. No, I can imagine that. I did a bit of windsurfing and water skiing in my youth. I was very bad at both. I spent a huge amount of the time swimming because I'd been thrown off the board. So yeah, all praise to people that can actually surf. But yes, wise words. Maria, when I go to Cornwall, I never feel like I get the time to view or appreciate it. It is a fascinating part of the world and a huge amount of history to it. Lots to look at. Diane, I live only a few hundred meters from the ocean. We have a small local cove and it's beautiful, but I'm still not a sea witch. It's trees and forests for me, really. It's interesting, isn't it? I do work with the sea. I do work with the sea a lot. I work with trees and I work with plants, but I'm more comfortable in open fields, in moorland. Oh, put me in the middle of Dartmoor and I would be super happy.
Lost, you mean?
I would be very lost.
Yeah.
Let's face it, put me outside of the front door and I'll be lost.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Ooh, what's this? Ooh.
Put the cup down and get back to work.
Okay.
So moorland is my place, but I do love the ocean. There is something very special about it, but it seems to be that over more recent years, I have become more and more anchored at one point of the ocean, at one beach, if you like. It's obviously captured me and gets a bit jealous if I try and work with any other ocean, something like that. Xenia, I went to Boscastle once and also walked the coast path from Tintagel and fell in love with that area and that part of the ocean and seashore and the cliffs. It is stunning, particularly Boscastle, which looks like something from the set of Pirates of the Caribbean. You do imagine that you just sort of look up and the Black Pearl will be sailing in. It is stunning scenery, absolutely, and definitely a magical part of the world. Emma, I feel a connection to our local river and Southend-on-Sea's part of the ocean. I'm also at the beginning of my journey with Mannon MacLear. It's feeling my connection with the Southend Ocean. Interesting journey. That will be very fascinating to continue on with. Eva, grew up on the ocean, coast of Maine, USA. I miss it terribly now that I live in Switzerland. Visiting the North Sea in the Netherlands just isn't the same. I miss the wild, rocky coastline. No other place is quite the same for me. We do get tethered, don't we? I think we do get tethered to places. Past lives, maybe? I don't know. Jane, I ordered a 5th Pentacle of the Moon talisman pendant, also loosely called Solomon's Seal, from Etsy, and it arrived on Wednesday. As soon as I put it on, things started going not just right, but very well after a horrible few days of being hacked 3 times and eventually getting sorted. I can't take it off now. It's the power of Solomon's Seal. That's magic in action, that is, isn't it? It is magic happening. I'm glad it's turned around for you. Lizzie, I've travelled across the ocean from America to the UK twice. The last time, a week's journey took 9 days, a very violent passage. Yeah, I'm not good on the ocean. I love the ocean, not so good actually being on it. Iona, when feeling in need of somewhere to think, going to the beach and the ocean was a place for us to go. Great sense of peace. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If things are too much, that's my escape place, definitely. Possibly though, only because I'm nowhere near Dartmoor. That's quite a long drive. And the beach is only 5 minutes away. Xenia. Rocks and cliffs and partly sandy beaches. Yeah, the Cornwall coast is fascinating. And of course, all yesterday when we were in Dorset, we're on the Jurassic coast. So lots of interesting fossils as well. Dawn, I've only just started working with Sea Magic. And even though I'm near the coast, Alnmouth in Northumberland was an amazing energy for me. The energies there are just so powerful. It definitely has something magical about it, that the sea has got that power to it. Debbie, my father and uncle were in the Navy. My uncle was lost at sea in the Azores during the war. All, hats off to all of those that fought in the wars for us. Hannah, it's Devon for me, Salcombe. We went every year when I was a child. I actually prefer ocean energy in winter. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I say the ocean is 5 minutes from us, but we very rarely go in the summer. It's too busy. But going in the winter or the autumn, fantastic. Yeah, spend a lot of time down there. Devon, yeah, I can relate to that. We have family in Axminster in Devon and Charmouth in Dorset, and we used to spend a lot of time down there, Lyme Regis in the summers as kids and in the winters as kids. Maria loves my cup. I love my cup because it has coffee in it. Tess, my dad lives in Carnforth. I'm rubbish at pronouncing Welsh words. Caernarfon.
Anyone is except the Welsh.
Caernarfon, North Wales. Yeah, they've got it nailed, haven't they? Yeah. I grew up going to Dinas Dinley.
Please don't try.
Yeah, I'm not going to try. I'm very connected to this beach. Also, there is the Menai Straits. I can say that word. And whenever I go to Dad's, I'm always picking up stones, shells, beach stuff. When we were little, we used to go cockling with Dad on the Fjord. Small shore. I'm sure this is just so that I can make really bad pronunciations. Very connected to these beaches and rivers around North Wales. I have been to Wales on a few occasions. I don't think I've been to the beach there, though. The stones and shells thing is interesting, though, isn't it? When we went to Cornwall, I didn't collect anything much on most of the beaches. Didn't feel drawn to collect anything. Apart from at the Black Rock beach, where I actually was quite drawn to it. So I asked if I could have something. And I was given a few stones, pebbles to pick up.
The car was weighed down.
The car was quite weighed down. When I say pebbles,
yeah,
I've got a couple of quite big.
There's only half the Black Rock left now.
Quite big stones to use as altars. And I know it's illegal. You're not supposed to do it. So don't do it. But I didn't yesterday. When we were down walking along the sand, there were pebbles on the beach there, and some of them were quite pretty, but I didn't feel drawn to pick any of them up. I didn't need the connection, obviously. I live 20 minutes from the sea. This is Tony. Hi, Tony. Don't like the sand much. No, I don't. I prefer a pebbly beach. Sand gets in everything, but love walking along the beach. Although Eric prefers sand. He doesn't like walking on pebbles. Love shells, sea glass and sea glass. Yes, sea glass has all the elements in it due to how it's made. Absolutely. Have been reading Sea Magic book to work with the sea. I've got quite a lot of sea glass. You can get that along the Jurassic coast there. Charmouth's very good for sea glass. Fascinating stuff to work with. But I think it is, Swanage. We've been going to Swanage for 25 years. There's a lot of memories there. Just didn't feel the connection to the water while I was there. It was very strange. Lizzie, where I now live, there is you've given me Welsh words to say again, Llanstefan estuary, a 10-minute drive away. beautiful place and I often visit it. There's a walk around the castle and takes you past the sacred well. Nice. Of course, on our way down to Swanage, we had to drive past Corfe Castle, which is kind of Corfe fallen down bits of castle, but it is stunning. You come down the hill and there's this huge bits of castle up on the skyline. Fascinating, just amazing scenery and sort of landscape there. Tony, love the Cornwall coast but haven't been for years. We hadn't been for a long time when we went this year, but Jane, can understand the lure of the sea, but I've always been a bit scared of it, and rightly so. I think still couldn't swim after 2 years of the dreaded lessons. Found out recently I drowned in a pond in a previous life. I think it can have quite a bearing on it. I can swim, I just don't like swimming in the sea. It's too, well, you don't know what's under you, do you really? I like to be able to see the bottom of the pool. So I know there's no sharks or stingy jellyfish or yeah, I think being scared of it is a good thing, really, because it is so powerful. I think we have to have respect for it. Pete the coffee master. Yeah, bless him. He's well trained. Eric's out for the count. And so you should be, the amount you didn't sleep last night. Christine, I live near the River Stour and feel so connected to that, and I used to send things in, always eco-friendly things, as it flows down to the ocean in Bournemouth. Drove past Bournemouth yesterday, obviously. Love going to Swanage as I love the shop over the rainbow. Yes, that's been there for so long too. Lovely things. I get bored at the sea unless I'm at West Bay. West Bay is very nice. Watching the waves, wetting people, wicked me. I work on the theory that I'm a fire, Leo, and water just puts me out. Okay, I'm Scorpio, so, you know. Yes, as a child, when we used to go and stay with my aunt and uncle, they lived in Axminster, we used to go to West Bay and various other places and always came back soaking wet from head to foot. You know, and I'm talking in the winter with their coats and everything on, we'd still get soaking wet. He used to get into quite a lot of trouble. Xenia, I never get used to a stone beach like Brighton. I will be there this weekend. Doesn't feel like it. Nice hagstones though. Yes. But apart from that, I feel no connection to that beach. Even though Brighton is nice, totally different from Cornwall, which I absolutely love. It is different, isn't it? I actually, we're in Brighton this weekend. It'll be interesting to see whether I get that connection to the water there. I haven't done in the past. But the different types of beaches are interesting too. Southsea, the one close to us from Portsmouth, hagstones galore. Lots and lots of hagstones, quite a few seashells as well. No driftwood really, and no sea glass. And the pebbles, the stones, are what I call B&Q stones. So they look like the pebbles that you get at the Home Depot stores. Go down to Charmouth on the Jurassic Coast and you get the lovely grey stones, and Cornwall as well. You get the lovely grey stones that have got quartz shot through them. And of course, on the Jurassic Coast, you get fossils and you also get the sea glass, but no shells. There's some whole kind of geology thing in here, which I have no idea about. But it is interesting to see the different types of coastline and the different things that you can find, and everyone will have a different energy. Brighton, for instance, it's bright and loud and party kind of beach. I guess it's definitely not the calm chill out Cornwall type beaches. A different energy, definitely. Sephora, our coast in New Zealand have very different style beaches. West Coast beaches are black sand, wild stony beaches. The ocean is dark and a bit scary. Our East Coast beaches are often white, sandy, long sweeps of beaches with beautiful clear blue sea. Both bring such different energies. Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. And each place will have a different energy as well. Spirit of place. Colin, I went to Tintagel many years ago when we were holiday in Devon and Cornwall, a magical place. Tintagel obviously has the whole legend of King Arthur. and Merlin. So it is a magical place. In fact, we couldn't get up onto the top of Tintagel when we went earlier in the year because it was too windy. But we did stand for some time watching the water in the bay, and we actually saw a sea lion in there, and I watched him for quite some time. I was a little bit concerned because he appeared to be on his own, and I felt a bit sorry for him.
But then he waved, so you're all right.
He did wave, yeah, so we were fine. But it's got that history and that magic to attach to it, Tintagel, hasn't it? Kerry, more Welsh words. It's beautiful in Llanstefan. I live in Llanelli Beach. Not too great, but the Gower holds my heart. It's attachment, isn't it, as well? That makes a difference, I think. Susie, I've lived in Kent near water most of my life, and I love it and use it for most of my magical workings. But next year we were moving away from the area, not so looking forward to it. Completely different change then. Yeah, it's a different kind of energy, isn't it? Definitely a different kind of energy. And you'll find different ways of working. Definitely find different ways of working. Debbie, I sang to the seals with a friend on the Norfolk coast. The seals stayed for the duration. It was magical. Trust me, they wouldn't have stayed if I sang.
I'd ask for that.
That would have sent them scuttling away as quickly as possible. Xenia, in my town, we have a very long sand beach along our river. Love being there, and it's near my home and work. Sometimes nice to go to the beach after work. That's the difference too, isn't it? It is the difference between every different body of water will have its own energies, but every different type of body of water will have a different energy too. So the ocean obviously is salt water. So you've got the addition of salt, which brings a different magical energy to it. But then you have rivers, fast flowing rivers, slow meandering rivers. You have pools and ponds, swamps, lakes, lochs, all different types of water, and they'll all have a slightly different energy, obviously, because of where they are situated, where they're located. They will have that energy from the spirit place. But the different types of water will also have a different type of energy. So working with water from a lake will be a different energy to working with water from the sea. You have to think about how the water moves and what lives in it, and the surrounding area to it, and plant life and everything. It'll definitely have a different vibe to it. Hi, Jackie. The beach seat at Wells, next to the sea as you come through the forest, and then find this beautiful stretch of sandy beach going on for miles, and sea. Amazing vibes. Don't get there enough. Our nearest sea is Southend, and I also love Kynance Cove in Cornwall. Favourite place, isn't it? But I wonder what it is that actually draws us to those specific places and not others. Why do we connect with one ocean but not another? Spirit place, different energies, isn't it? We pick up on stuff. Maria says, water is a bit of a sore subject for me at the moment. Yes, you've had flooding, haven't you? Yes, I must admit, I know we've had so much rain, and yesterday I noticed that some of it's obviously been leaking into our bedroom ceiling, so that's got to be looked at. It's not fun, is it? Definitely not fun. Charlie, I love the ocean. If I go to the ocean, I release and come back feeling better. So special. Yeah, that's exactly what I do. Love Cornwall too. It's magical and wild. Ocean, waterfalls, springs, ancient stones, sites and greenery. It's certainly got the lot, Cornwall, hasn't it? But what it's also got is teeny tiny little roads. Which Pete was not impressed with. No, some of them were just one car wide and all windy. Not fun. Not fun to drive down. Irina, I have a strong connection with the sea. It reminds me of home, gives me the feeling of home. And I get that feeling of nostalgia and feels like I'm longing for home, Atlantis. I do have a very strong connection to Atlantis. I find that subject absolutely fascinating. Probably why I love Stargate Atlantis, the TV series, so much. Yeah, there definitely is something about the ocean, isn't there? But something about Atlantis too. Yeah, fascinating stories behind that. Tony, we're lucky here in South Kent. We have so many types of beach: sandy, rocky, pebbled, shells, beaches, sea glass beach, and a fossil beach. Oh, spoilt for choice. Just showing off now. I have been to Kent a couple of times, but not actually to the beach. Bears more investigation. Hannah, I feel the ocean is good for shadow self-work. Oh, absolutely. Because the ocean, the water is all to do with your emotions. So excuse the pun, but it's a deep dive into your emotions. Absolutely. Trudy, love the sea, was always bodyboarding with my family. Prefer now to sit and take in the energy of a more rugged coastline. More likely to find me looking for sea glass and other bits and bobs. Love water energy and what comes with it. I must admit, if a witch walks along the seafront, generally their head's like this. Not actually looking at the scenery yet. We're looking at the ground, seeing what things we can pick up and take home. Debbie, used to take my dogs there after finishing my night shift. Beautiful and early in the morning. Oh, yeah, the ocean. Early in the morning, last thing at night, the liminal times, those in-between times. And not only are you at that liminal time of the day, day rise, can you tell the lack of sleep? Sunrise and dusk, those liminal times in the day, but you're also standing at a liminal place. You're standing in that in-between where the ocean meets the land. Magical. Liminal on top of liminal. Very, very magical place. Charlie, Dartmoor I love as it has a different potency. Oh, it has. Land feels so ancient there, like the ancestors are closer and the nature more alive and talkative. Yeah, it's a very, very special place, Dartmoor. No oceans. Stay there. Stay there. Oh, you are feeling a bit sorry for yourself. It's not even going to run to the door when the doorbell rings. I'm sorry about the doorbell. Tony, in Folkestone we have a labyrinth at the side of the beach and a stone circle on the beach, although it's man-made. Perfect. Dog barking, chaos. I love the idea of a labyrinth and a stone circle on the beach. That sounds fascinating. Xenia, I love collecting hagstones at Brighton Beach. Is that my big box of cookie dough that's just been ordered?
I feel the need to put this in front of the camera.
It's just been delivered. It's for Christmas.
Uh-huh. It's addressed to Kitchen Witch.
It's for Christmas. Uh-oh. I'm busted. Xenia, I love collecting hagstones at Brighton Beach. We do have them on our Southsea beach too. Smooth and round and polished. This year even found out that there's also hagstones to find at the beach of the river in my city. Yes, I think we think of hagstones as being associated with the ocean, but if you've got a river, you'll often find hagstones on the river too. Jane, shall we do talismans and amulets next week? No, it'll have to be December because the workshop's not until December. Although the workshop in December in London, we will actually be making all sorts of goodies too. And I will have Ness with me doing all kinds of rune stuff as well for the amulets and talismans. It's going to be fun. Emma, I live nowhere near the sea, yet I'm so drawn to it. Actually, most bodies of water, especially locally. I like watching the sticklebacks in the local river swimming about. Loved that since I was a kid. When I was a child, we moved about a little bit. My dad was a policeman, so we moved about a bit. But a big part of my childhood was spent in Godalming, and we lived in Surrey, and we lived in a house that had a river right behind us. I had a little stream and then a field and then a big river way behind us. We spent a lot of time messing about in the river as kids. Loved it. Hannah, I feel like I've probably drowned in a past life. Can't watch underwater scenes on TV. Never been regressed though, so don't know for definite. I think that would be quite scary to be regressed if you have that wariness already. May explain a lot. Yeah, I think a lot of the fears that we have now are from things that have happened in the past. We went to Wookey Hole many years ago and went down in the caves underneath, and I hated it. Absolutely hated it. Couldn't wait to get out. The thought of all that rock above my head terrified.
It's cool.
You thought it was cool, but I thought it was terrifying. Louise, love Cirque Castle. Also really love and are more connected to Peveril, only half an hour away. It's the local things as well, isn't it? We have local connections. Maria, is Brighton a man-made beach? I don't know, Maria. I really don't know. Louise is apologising for being off this ocean subject. We always go off subject. I don't think we've ever had a chat where we've kept strictly to subject. So, morning, Cos. Diane, the beaches here in North Pembrokeshire are really stony and pebbly, but we very rarely see a hagstone. It is different shorelines, isn't it? It's got to be something to do with the whole geology of it, and why you get sea glass in some places and not others, and shells in some places and not others. There's a whole geology thing to it. But I wonder what it is that kind of makes us connected to some and not other. Different.
Ben on the case of that.
I will ask Ben that about geology, yeah. Colin, we used to say that Brighton was London by the sea. Good description. You'd see many Londoners down there on bank holidays. Yeah, it's a good description. Brighton is its own magical place. It's got a whole personality of its own. Jane loves the Peak District. I've not been actually, but Pete and I have a whole list of places we want to visit in England. Whole list of stuff that we've not been to. Sephora, on the east coast where I lived as a child, if someone was lost in the ocean, and sadly it happened too often, the local iwi would place a tapu on the sea until the body was found. No one takes seafood or swims until the rahui is lifted. There were lots of words there I didn't understand, Sephora, but I get the gist. That's fantastic. New Zealand has such a spirituality, doesn't it? That's amazing. Xenia, the ocean at Brighton Beach looks nice though, turquoise, because the ground is just stones, no mud. The muddy colour of the North Sea in North Germany bores me to death. It's because of the tides and so much mud gets moved in the water. The Baltic Sea is much better. I love being there. Yeah, that is muddest. And of course you can work magic with the mud as well. That would have the energy of earth, but it would also have the energy of water, but you bring in the salt with it as well because it's salt water.
Well, the Buddhists will complain now.
That would be interesting to work with that. Jane, I'm guessing the brackish part of an estuary is a kind of liminal place. Absolutely. Absolutely. So brackish water is where seawater meets non-seawater. Oh, the lack of sleep is affecting me. Yes, it is where you find that seawater meets a river with a non-seawater in it. And so, yeah, it does. It causes brackish water, which is a liminal place. It is an in-between place. And if you can collect water safely from a brackish part of an estuary, that's very magical stuff to work with. Eva, I generally see bodies of water as feminine. Me too. But when I was trying to connect with a local big river, I got a very old man vibe in a good, not creepy way. I do. Water, I think, as an element is generally seen as feminine, but back to Spirit of Place again, different bodies of water, different local places will have their own energy and their own vibes. So that's, yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. Xenia, one isn't supposed to swim in the River Severn because of the huge and fast moving tides and huge that they make. And of course, that one is looked after by the goddess Sabrina too. Fascinating. And the rivers, you know, all have their own goddesses too, obviously. Lizzie, anyone who visits Wales, head to, thank you for putting the pronunciations, Munt in Cardiganshire. It's a beautiful, magical place. I've seen seals and dolphins in the bay there many times. Plus, there's a beautiful old church. Thank you, Lizzie. Yeah, I mean, looking at the gods and goddesses of England, there's a book, obviously, out June next year on the gods and goddesses of England. When I was doing the research for that, so many rivers have goddesses attached to them. And that's the only place you'll find them. River Severn and Sabrina is one of them. I think ancient man would have revered and respected rivers, particularly the big ones, because they gave life in the form of food, but they also took life. Like the River Severn is very, very fast flowing in places. And to cross that would have been quite, literally taking your life in your hands. So people would have worshipped and honoured the rivers so that they didn't take life and so that they kept providing food. So the goddesses built up around rivers. So you will often find that rivers have a specific deity associated with them because of the beliefs that are built up around it. Fascinating. Fascinating stuff. Jane, I think everything about Cornwall feels magical because there's so much myth, legend, and folklore. Absolutely. King Arthur, Merlin, Lady of the Lake, it's got a lot going for it magically. Yes, it has. Absolutely, it has. And that's all adds to the part of the energy, doesn't it? Trudy, I think if you know the history of an area too, it heightens the energy. Yes, absolutely. I like Tintagel in particular because everyone knows the legends of Merlin and his cave there in the bay, and obviously Tintagel Castle on top, which was supposedly lived in by Arthur. It's got that magic to it because people know the myths and they know the legends. Christine, I grew up in the Peak District and loved walking for miles along the rocks in the countryside. Froggatt Edge. Oh, I love the sound of that. I found so much energy there as a teenager. I loved the wind blowing up there. My mum lived there and she always said that I brought the wind with me when I visited. I love the name Froggatt Edge. That'd be cool to live in. I live in Froggatt Edge.
Cabot Cove.
Cabot Cove. No, you don't want to live in Cabot Cove. Lots of people die in Cabot Cove. Xenia, are people allowed to pick up fossils from the Jurassic coast just in case I visit the beaches there? Technically, as far as I am aware, you are not allowed to collect fossils, stones, or shells from any beaches.
That's the police at the door now.
Ever. Yeah, they better not come in. Let's not be raided because we'd be really stuffed. Technically, you are not supposed to take anything from the beach because it's owned by whoever owns the beach, generally the council. But obviously everyone does. And I think so long as you're not shoveling spades full of shingle into the boot of your car to line your driveway with, you can get away with it. So technically you're not supposed to collect pebbles or anything in England anyway. But yeah, I have done. I have sea glass and shells and pebbles and fossils from the Jurassic coast. Colin, when I was growing up, we used to go swimming in the local rivers. Yeah, and during the summer holidays, we used to go to Burnt Island. That sounds quite cool too. My dad learnt to swim in their local river. That's just what kids did. Jane, the rocky coast and caves on Jersey's north coast have a magical feel. I've never been to Jersey. They don't get as crowded as the sandy beaches of the south and west coast. That's, I guess, the other thing. Our local beach, Southsea, is very much English seaside town, like Brighton is really. We've got a pier and we've got cafes and a crazy golf and all that kind of stuff. And I think that actually adds to the energy of it. We have the arcades and all that kind of thing. In the summer, I hate it. It's too peoply. But in the autumn and the winter, I think that kind of adds for me to the energy of it. I can buy a cup of coffee from the Baffled kiosk on Southsea Seafront. Oh, Baffled, they do excellent food and nice coffee. And you can walk along and walk along the pier if you want to. And for me, it all adds to the energy of it. Very, very different vibe to a remote Cornwall beach that has sand and sea, and that's it. Very, very different vibe. But I think that adds to the magic for me somehow. Eric is always on duty, Xenia. Yes. Janet needs that doorbell. It's one of those ones where you can pick the different tunes, but we actually haven't bothered. So the upstairs one plays a different tune to the downstairs one. But we can put Christmas ones on it. So
good.
It's coming up that time. I've already changed my phone cover. Look, I'm just telling you now, 11th of November, I have my Christmas phone cover on. Oh, that's sad, isn't it? Tess, clearly you should be writing a book about ocean and sea magic, use of sea glass and shells and everything. Okay, so funny you should mention it. There is a little bit about working with pebbles and shells in the Witchcraft into the Wilds book, but the third book in the Elements series, The Element of Water, is being edited at the moment. So Earth Element and Fire Element are out already. Water Element will be out probably sometime next year. I would imagine that's being edited at the moment. And obviously that's got ocean and water and pond magic and brackish water and all that kind of jazz in it. You asked. Claire, I'm originally from the coast, was raised by the water, but now at 48, I live in Suffolk. I am an air and water sign on the cusp and miss the sea terribly. Though I don't swim, I like to paddle. That's about it. True believer in past lives. I don't regression work and have strong connections to pirates and mermaids. My bedroom is full of shells, sea glass and driftwood, and I tend to wear it and carry it on me just to keep the connection going. I think that's important though, isn't it? Even if you don't live near the ocean, you might feel drawn to it. And there are ways that you can feel connected to it. And obviously collecting seawater when you do visit can be taken home with you and used to work magic with. But it is about maintaining that connection as well, which can be done, absolutely. Sue, when I was a child, I spent hours at a local beach that had lots of rocks. You could climb on and look for rock pools. Yeah, I love dipping in rock pools. Such a special place. But when I took my children there once, the council had removed nearly all the rocks and the energy has completely changed. Haven't been back since. Do tend to go to another part of the beach whenever I'm stressed or upset. Watching the waves always calms me. It's interesting about the council changing, isn't it? When we went to the beach, Southsea, back in the summer, that was when lovely Heather was visiting us. There was a lot of work going on the beach. They are reinforcing it all so that it doesn't erode. Haven't been to that area recently. Now the work is completed. It'll be interesting to see how much the energy has changed there. And I absolutely understand that the council have to do work to protect the shoreline. We don't want to be dropping in the ocean. But yeah, that will be interesting to see how it's changed. Louise, found more hagstones than in the rest of my life in 1 week in Deep Dorset this summer. Not really near any water, interestingly. The hagstones have to have some form of water to make, it's the water that makes the hole in them, whether it is the ocean or whether it's a river. It might be that that area was a dry riverbed, but it's the passage of water that makes the hole in the stones. One of those geology things again. Claire, I long to go to Cornwall and here it is very zen. I do believe it has an Indian connection as well, which is also one of my other favourite connections. I don't know about an Indian connection, don't know that one. But Cornwall is definitely a magical place. It is, of course, the home of pirates as well. Quite a few famous pirates associated with Cornwall, and it would have had a fair amount of trade with the spices and all the exotic ingredients that the traders and the pirates brought in as well. Sephora, doesn't surprise me that witches have a fear of water after the dunkings. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we don't want to be messing about with that. Xenia, I even found hagstones on the beach of the River Thames directly in London when the tide was low. It was in the evening, full moon, dark already, and my eyes are bad, but I found and picked several hagstones in the dark. The River Thames has London has a huge amount of history to it. Going back, Romans and before, there's a huge amount of history, and there's an awful lot of things under London, tunnels and streets and things that have been buried. There's underground rivers and all sorts in London. It is actually a very fascinating historical place. Going back past, I think as you think of London, you think of Victorian times really, but its history goes way back to Romans and beyond. Fascinating place. But it's a river, so yeah, hagstones, I can well believe that, although the River Thames always looks quite brown. Louise meant Corfe. Corfe Castle is lovely. Corfe Castle, it is fascinating. Colin, Brighton is a rocky beach made by the sea. Thank you. I wasn't sure. Jane, we are going to talk about talismans and amulets sometime in the future. It was mentioned at the beginning because I'm running a workshop at the College of Psychic Studies in December on talismans and amulets. Don't worry about getting confused. It happens to me all the time. Louise is 10 minutes from the Peak District. It looks beautiful. Not been, but the scenery looks amazing. Iona, maybe we are drawn to water as we are bodies of water mainly. It could well be, couldn't it? It does play a very important part in our lives, absolutely. Jane would love to go back to the Peak District and visit the Blue John Caverns where fluorite comes from. Never seem to get there. Oh, I love fluorite. It's one of my favourites. Emma, I find that Manannan MacLear is close by, helping with my new journey with him. Don't think it's just the sea he's part of. Rivers too, connected with the sea. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Eva, ocean currents, local bedrock geology and structure of the coastline generally determine what the beach is made of. Thank you. An proper explanation. Yes, that makes sense. Absolutely. Christine, I just remembered that when I lived in Brunei, myself and other army wives all spent a lot of our days on the beach. Did feel at peace there, but it could be the heat. Also, Hong Kong Harbour, I live near the ocean, but it smelled too bad for me to connect. Yeah, that's not good. Kerry, Brighton, not so appealing these days. Majority of spiritual new age shops are no longer there. I think Brighton has its own kind of magic, doesn't it? It is a living, breathing kind of entity, Brighton. It is just totally mad. Bizarre place in a good way. Trudy, I think if you know the history of the coastline or waterways that you visit, the energy personally heightens. Yes, absolutely. I think there has to be a personal connection there, I think, doesn't there? And history really helps, which is what I talk about in the Witch for All Seasons book. Which I talk about all the time. I think it's really important to have that connection to the land that you're in, to make that connection with the land beneath your feet and the energies. But the history of it really, really helps. Jane, blimey, imagine swimming in the Severn and getting caught up in the Severn bore. You could get from Somerset to Gloucestershire in a few seconds, but probably not alive. No, not advisable. Not advisable. Debbie, book on water goddesses. Looking forward to that. There is the book on Gods and Goddesses of England. Here somewhere. There we are. So that one is out in June. Gods and Goddesses of England. Not necessarily all associated with water, but a huge amount of them. That is just Gods and Goddesses of England. The deities that were around before the Romans arrived. So they are pure English gods and goddesses. But there's also some water deities mentioned in the Element of Water book as well. Caroline, in a dream once, a lady bought me a cask of pearls. Very nice. Wouldn't it be nice if they did that in reality? Hi, Deborah. Zephora, at times my husband needs to be dunked in the ocean, stressed or anxious, and the difference after is amazing. For me, it's dawn or dusk on a beach that's very connecting. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Emma, we've got the River Ouse running through Bedford. The Celtic deity of that river was called Abandonus, a male deity. He's in the book. He's in the book. Claire, I go shark tooth hunting and fossil hunting at Walton-on-Maze, Essex. Amazing stretch of the coast. Fascinating. Yeah, that we can find things like that, though. How amazing is that? Xenia, seems similar to Germany, where technically no one is allowed to even pick up a pigeon feather from the pavement. I believe with feathers, you have to be quite careful. In America, they have quite strong rules about feathers in America too. Yeah, it's just, it's just being a bit sensible, that's all. We've got a troll today. That's exciting. Christine's not the troll. St. Prelades Beach in Jersey. I loved the place, but I got blisters so badly sunbathing. Oh, not good. Not good. Xenia saw a TV documentary about the River Severn where blokes were riding the waves with their surfboards, and it's totally dangerous and one could get smashed on the shore. Oh, no, not good. Obviously, Cornwall, brilliant for surfing. You get a lot of surfers down there, and it's safe. Safer. Colin's given me things to pronounce. Carmarthen takes its name from Caer Merlin's Rock, which is just outside the town. Oh, lack of sleep. Do find it more challenging working with water. I've only just felt a need to create moon water to work with this recent full moon, so I'm starting to explore how to use and work with water rather than simply visiting the local sea. All of us will be connected to one particular element rather than another. We'll usually have one strong element, sometimes two, but there will be an element that you don't connect with as much. Air is kind of the element I don't feel connected with as much. It's the way we're made. It's a lot to do with air. Sun signs, moon signs, how we live, our personalities. It's all to do with that. We often find that you're drawn to one more than another. Jane, we haven't got a beach near Romford to relax on and forget our troubles, so we have to make do with recordings of Father Ted. That'll do it. Janet, I collect seashells. When some of my friends go on trips near water, I ask for shells and sand. Both can be worked brilliantly with in magic. Very, very useful. Jane, I remember staying at Jamaica Inn in Cornwall when I was a child. It was a lovely place. Jamaica Inn is fascinating. We did go there on our visit this year. The shop is fantastic too. We did try and eat in the restaurant, but we hung about for about 20 minutes trying to catch the attention of someone to serve us, and no one did, so we gave up in the end. Shame on you, Jamaica Inn. Xenia, I know the hidden rivers of London. I'm keen on finding a walking tour that covers that. There will be one, I'm sure, Xenia. There's lots of walking tours around London, isn't there? Colin, Fleet Street is named because the River Fleet used to flow through it. Lots of place names can give you hidden ideas of hidden things or myths or folklore, legend. As I say all the time, find out the folklore of the place. It is fascinating. Tony, think I was dunked in a previous life. Hate going in water except a bath. Yeah, it lingers. Debbie, Boudica versus the Romans were in London too. Yeah, the big history of Boudica, obviously, in the area. Hannah, there's a special extra high tide at spring they serve called the Boar. Excellent. Jane, a couple of nights ago I dreamt I was with a group of mudlarkers and we kept turning up pristine packets of sewing needles and sewing machine needles. Does anyone know what that might mean? The best person to decipher your dream is you. You knew I was going to say that, didn't you? I think dreams in particular are your subconscious trying to give you messages or sort through the information of the day. The only person that can really decipher that for you is you. So the answer would be, what do new sewing needles and sewing machine needles mean to you? I know that wasn't helpful, but, there is lots and lots and lots of things here, and we've gone way over our time. Kerry, does a chalice well in Glastonbury have a goddess? I have the goddess of Avalon, but it doesn't have an ancient goddess because it's not necessarily ancient that I know of. But the Lady of Avalon is usually associated with that one. Jane, if you want fluorite, the caverns are near Castleton in the Peak District, and the shops when I was there last were full of fluorite jewelry and knickknacks. Mind you, that was in the 70s. It may not have changed. Colin is asking about a book on gods and goddesses in Wales. There is a book written. If you go to the Moon Books website, there is a book on gods and goddesses of Wales already written there. Yes, by Halo Quinn. Kerry's asked, Kerry, we've got a troll. Don't worry, I'm going to block them in a minute. Yes, there's a lot of Bridget related to areas in Glastonbury as well. Yeah. Lots and lots of things here about water. It is fantastic. Zephora says, can you use sand which has high salt content for protection? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Lizzie would love if I wrote one about gods and goddesses of Wales. When I write books about things that I know about and things that I've worked about. I don't work with the Welsh deities. Halo Quinn does. So she's written a fascinating book on the gods and goddesses of Wales. As there's also a book on the gods and goddesses of Ireland, which is written by Morgan Daimler. Stick to the subjects that we know. So thank you, everyone. I have a quick, you might have seen in the corner here, a little box peeking out. This is a bewitched botanical bauble. There will be a blog post. I have done a video on my YouTube channel. I'm going to give you a quick teaser. It's a new item from Bewitched Botanicals. Peek. Have a look on their website. They have got some information up there. Have a look on my YouTube channel. There is a video showing you more about it, but it's the latest thing from Bewitched Botanicals, and it is amazing. For more information, email Jackie at Bewitched Botanicals. But have a look at my YouTube and keep an eye on the blog for it as well. As well, I think it is about personal connection, and I also think it is about the energy of the land, the energy of the place that you're in. There is so much magic you can work with the ocean, with the salt water, with the sand, with the shells, with the driftwood. All of it has an amazing magic. And it's about making that connection with the spirit place as well, I think. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining me again. It'll be up on replay afterwards if you missed any bits of it. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone. And I will catch you all again next week. Take care, everyone. Oh, you're going to say hello now, are you? It's time to say goodbye. Thanks, everyone.